Hi everyone, this is Kevin here, and in this video, we're going to be going over the 5 best and 5 worst things about the Umidigi S3 Pro. So let's get started. Now I want to let you know that overall I think this is an excellent phone, and I actually had a really hard time coming up with 5 things that I didn't like about it, just because there really aren't too many things out there that are negative about this phone. But I was able to come up with a list of 5 things that I don't like about the phone. I'm saving it for the end of the video, but I think you'll really find them to be interesting. But first, let's go over my 5 best things about the Umidigi S3 Pro. So the first thing is the display. This device features a 6.3-inch 1080p display, and it looks really good. Not only is it 1080p, which is a relatively high resolution, it also has great colors, and overall is just super crisp and really seems like a premium display. I think it's definitely comparable to displays on phones that are about twice the price of this phone. So it's a really good looking display. Everything just looks awesome. It's a little bit of a taller display too, so if you do a lot of social media stuff or web browsing, you're gonna really like this, and it's great for watching video as well. So overall, Umidigi did a great job with the display on the S3 Pro. My second favorite thing about the Umidigi S3 Pro definitely has to be the onboard storage. Now this device does feature a microSD card slot, so if you want to expand the storage even further, you have that option to do it, but on board, natively, we get 128 gigabytes of storage, and that's amazing. That's double the amount of storage that I have on my iPhone XS Max, and I paid over $1,000 for that phone. So that might put things into perspective if you're not too familiar with the competition that's out there. So overall, I'm just really happy that Umidigi threw in 128 gigabytes of storage. I think that's a great thing. And especially if you want to download a lot of movies, maybe you're a YouTube Premium subscriber or a Netflix subscriber, and you want to download content that you can view on the airplane or somewhere where you don't have reliable internet service, then you can certainly fill up that 128 gigabytes of storage and you'll be able to put tons of content on it. My third favorite thing about the device is the size of the notch. Now, I know that notches can be controversial, and there's a good reason for that, especially because other devices out there, especially the iPhone XS, have pretty large notches. But you can see here that the notch on the Umidigi S3 Pro is a teardrop notch, and it's actually really small. It doesn't get in the way of anything at all, and it actually looks pretty stylish, to be honest. So this is kind of one of the few examples that I've seen with a notch where there's pretty much no compromises. So I'm happy to see how small the notch is here, and overall I think it was a great design that Umidigi chose to go with the phone. My fourth favorite thing about the Umidigi S3 Pro definitely has to be the processor. Now this device features the MediaTek Helio P70 processor, which is a relatively new processor from MediaTek. Now typically I don't think highly of MediaTek processors. I've always thought of them as being kind of a downgrade from Qualcomm processors, but with the MediaTek Helio P70, that's really not the case. It's a great quick processor, and it's going to allow you to do pretty much anything you want to do with the phone itself. So you'll have no problem playing higher end games such as PUBG Mobile. I actually played that. I have a dedicated video where I played that game on the device itself. And really the processor can handle pretty much anything you throw at it. So I'm actually glad the MediaTek Helio P70 was included in this phone versus a Qualcomm processor, just because I don't think they could offer this device for its affordable price tag if it was to include Qualcomm technology, but we're still getting a great processor that will do everything you need to do with the Helio P70. Now I really could go on with my favorite things about the Umidigi S3 Pro because it is, like I said before, such a great device. But for the sake of limiting it to 5 different things, my 5th favorite thing about the phone definitely has to be the build quality. So this is probably one of the best built Umidigi phones that I've ever used to date, and I've used several of them over the last few months especially, but this device feels like a premium smartphone despite it not being that expensive. Umidigi calls this material on the back ceramic, and it looks really sharp. Certainly not a cheap plastic material. It's really durable and good looking. The rails here on the sides are metal, and the display covers most of the surface area on the front here. And overall, this phone just has a really awesome design. It has a great design with excellent build quality, and again, it feels like something that should be much more expensive than $299. Okay, now let's jump into the part that you've probably most been waiting for, and that is the 5 worst things about the Umidigi S3 Pro. So the first thing that I wish this device had is wireless charging. And it's certainly possible with the material on the back here. The only time that you can't have wireless charging with a smartphone is if it has metal on the back. And this is not metal. So I would have loved to see wireless charging. That's a feature I use all the time with my iPhone XS Max. And it's really convenient, especially if you have several different wireless chargers around your house or apartment or office, because you can literally just throw the phone on that charger, let it sit, and you don't have to worry about plugging it in. It's super convenient. And I don't think it really would have added much to the cost of this device either if it was compatible with wireless charging. Another thing too is that the Umidigi One Max is a $175 smartphone from Umidigi, so a lot cheaper than this. And it has wireless charging. So they literally could have just reused that technology with the Umidigi S3 Pro, and everybody that's into wireless charging would have been happy. But unfortunately, there is no wireless charging with the Umidigi S3 Pro. Now I do want to give them a quick shout out though for having USB-C on the bottom here. That's certainly a great thing because that is the future. But again, wireless charging is also the future. So it would have been great to see that with the S3 Pro. The second worst thing about the Umidigi S3 Pro doesn't necessarily have to do as much with the device itself, but more so with how you can buy the device. So at the moment, it is out of stock on Amazon. And it's really annoying that it is because that's one of my favorite places to shop. Of course, you can also buy this from Umidigi directly, I believe, and you can definitely get it on GearBest and AliExpress. So I will be leaving links to those places where you can buy it and Amazon as well. But especially in the United States, it's a pretty big deal to have your device in stock at all times on Amazon with Prime shipping. So whether you like it or not, it's really important for these devices to be in stock at all times on Amazon because that's where people are nowadays. That's where people are shopping. And just the fact that it's out of stock or delayed to be bought is really just kind of a big letdown. Now, hopefully in the future, they'll get the logistics under control with getting the Umidigi S3 Pro on Amazon and in stock. But in the meantime, you should definitely take a look at the link in the video description to see if it's in stock or not. And honestly, if it's in stock, you might want to just jump on it immediately because it's possible that it might run out of stock. This has already happened in the past with the Umidigi F1. It was kind of a wild goose chase to find one on Amazon because they would come up for a few days and then they'd get sold out and then they'd be out of stock again for a few weeks and then they would be back in stock again, and it really was frustrating. So hopefully we don't see a repeat of that with the Umidigi S3 Pro, but I'm not optimistic. One of my favorite features with the Umidigi S3 Pro is the bokeh mode. It's really awesome, it works really well, and it's actually very similar to the way that bokeh mode works on the iPhone, which is known as portrait mode. Now, I took this photo here of Stefan from TechRite, who's a good friend of mine, and the bokeh mode just looks really sharp. Now, unfortunately, there's no bokeh mode for the front-facing camera. That's something that we've seen now in a lot of flagship devices, but it's also a feature that you can find with the blue Vivo XL4, which is available for $150. So I would have loved to see a bokeh mode for the front-facing camera here with the Umidigi S3 Pro, especially since Umidigi is touting this phone as having great cameras. So it's kind of a letdown that there is no front-facing bokeh mode or portrait mode with the device. So that's definitely a downside and something that maybe hopefully they can implement with a software update. And if they can't, then maybe in the successor of this device, they can add a front-facing bokeh mode. The fourth disappointment with the Umidigi S3 Pro definitely has to be that there is no autofocus in video mode. So let me take a video here with this plant out of focus. All right, so it's out of focus, right? Now there is no functional autofocus here in video mode. Of course I can move closer, which will put things in focus, but if I move away, it doesn't automatically focus so that everything is nice and sharp. Now if I tap on the display, it will focus things, but that's not autofocus, that's manual focus. So it's pretty wild that there is no autofocus here with the Umidigi S3 Pro, especially considering that this device has some pretty sophisticated camera technology in it. And I feel like that technology hasn't been fully unleashed yet, and hopefully Umidigi sends out a software update for the S3 Pro that will bring autofocus to the device and kind of overall clean up the camera experience. But as of right now, there is no autofocus in video mode with the device. And finally, the last worst thing that I want to go over with the Umidigi S3 Pro is how bad the low light video mode is. And again, I think this is something that a software update can fix, but as of now, it's pretty bad. Now, thankfully, taking photos in low light is awesome. You're able to use that 48 megapixel camera to get some great low light photos. But for some reason in video mode, everything is super laggy. So let me play this and you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. So that looks pretty good so far. But you can see as soon as the white balance has to change, things get really blurry and just look terrible. I mean, you can see how low the frame rate is here. It's just pretty bad overall. I mean, it's definitely not usable footage. That looks like something that was taken from a cheap flip phone. As far as those camera complaints go with the Umidigi S3 Pro, I feel like they can be fixed with the software update. I believe I did hear that Umidigi is working on an update. I'm not sure what specific things that update is going to add or fix, but I know that Umidigi has acknowledged that the camera experience and the photo and video experience with the S3 Pro is certainly not at its potential, and it's being limited by the software of the device. But I hope you enjoyed this video with my 5 best and worst things about the Umidigi S3 Pro. Let me know what things you agree and disagree with in the comments section below, and we can have a nice productive conversation. But this is Kevin Breeze here. Make sure to follow me on Instagram and Twitter at KevinBreezeTV, and I'll see you in the next video.